Hi, thank you for joining us today on Aiken This Week. I'm Glenn Parker. Today we're celebrating National Preparedness Month, and joining us from the county are Tommy Thompson and Paul Matthews. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And we also have Stuart Bedenbaugh, who's the Assistant City Manager, but Stuart's sort of the liaison between the city and the county, so he's joined us here today.
Thanks.
Why don't we take just a second, Mr. Thompson, we'll start with you. Just tell us a little bit about your position and what you do with the county, please.
Okay, well, I am the Director of Emergency Services for the county, and within my department I have several divisions. Probably the most visible is the Emergency Medical Services Division. I also have a hazmat, hazardous materials handling team that can all volunteer, but these are professionals that come back in and to get this team going. We have emergency management and emergency coordination. This makes up the department itself. Of course, we got Paul here today to talk about the emergency management. One thing I'd like to say is we're here, but there's not a lot of people that know a lot about us, and that is good because we are here for planning, coordination, and if anything, implementation as anything may happen on the emergency side. We do have a lot of responsibility, not a lot of authority. We are there mainly on the emergency management side and coordination as to act as a conduit. I think one of my favorite sayings is there's not anybody that has everything, but everybody has something. Once we put the package together, and that's the reason that Paul is in the position he is in, is to make sure that when and if we need any response, equipment, personnel, funding, etc., we are the conduit from local to federal or to state and then to the federal level. Okay. So that's our reason for being.
Okay. And Paul, what about you?
Thank you. I'm the emergency manager for Aiken County. And really I work closely with our hazardous materials team and our fire team. But I also work closely with a lot of different agencies. As Tommy said, we deal with coordination, and that is key to what we do in emergency management. We work with Aiken Public Safety very closely. We work closely with North Augusta Public Safety. We work closely with the fire departments in the county. We work very closely with State Emergency Management, State DHEC. We work closely with South Carolina Department of Transportation. So we work with a lot of different organizations to make sure that we're prepared for any type of emergency or disaster that should come our way. We also work closely with voluntary organizations in the county.
Okay, good. Now, Stuart, obviously you're the Assistant City Manager, but you have a role in the emergency management process, and tell us a little bit about that, if you will.
Sure. We have a very good public safety department that works with us on this. As Assistant City Manager, Glenn, I'm the chair of the Emergency Planning Committee. One of the main things is our Emergency Operations Manual, keeping that updated and current. Also, in the event that a state of emergency is declared by the city management and council, I'm a point of contact for various assisting agencies, volunteer groups, and individual volunteers.
Okay, good. Now, Mr. Thompson, you wear a lot of hats, it sounds like. What, is there such a thing as a typical day?
Well, I tell you, I would like to say that this is a typical day for me, but it's not. All of us within the emergency response arena have something on the calendar every day. Yesterday, I was down at SRS and going ahead and getting rebadged so that we could get access as we need it. Paul, we all have credentialing so that we can integrate with all of the areas and levels that he mentioned. One thing that I did skip, and I've got to get this in right now, is I also have a paid fire team. And that is coming back up, which is a very important part of the interaction that we supply to support the industry within our town. So we are integrated fully with all of the response agencies, also with all the municipalities, and all the way up to the federal level. Now, my typical day is I'm a coordinator, I'm a manager, and getting these things, everything that we have is integrated into itself. Each one of our divisions rely upon the other, and we're there to support any of the other municipalities, the public safety, other fire teams, anything that is needed. We're here to make sure that happens. So we are 24/7, literally 24/7.
Sounds like it. You emphasize a little bit emergency medical services and emergency transport. Define those for us a little bit.
Okay, right now we are responsible for all of the advanced life support responses, medical responses within the county. You call 911, we're the ones with the lights and sirens. We have 10 stations located geographically in the demographics. We have looked at demographics and positioned our 10 stations where our highest call volumes should be. We're anticipating that. We're also co-located with Interstate 20. We get a lot of customers off of 20 and the different areas within the county. You see a lot of ambulances running within the county, but all of those are usually general transports. They're inter-facility, going to nursing homes, taking Medicaid, Medicare people to their appointments, etc. We do not do that. We are 100% full emergency response. Now we do have, I keep 10 trucks up at all times. We also have a private provider network that we utilize, whereas we bring in a private trucks as they are available, and we man them with, if they're not manned with paramedics, we do have, I keep a supervisor on 24-hour shifts. I keep an assistant supervisor on 24-hour shifts. They are available to get on a basic life support unit to make it into an advanced life support unit so that they can run emergencies as we need them. They're on call as available. We also have within that emergency response, our supervisors and our assistant supervisors have what we call quick response vehicles. And those are, we cannot transport in that, but they are trucks or SUV type vehicles equipped with advanced life support capabilities. They have their monitors, all of the drugs and et cetera that a paramedic is authorized to utilize. They can sometimes get on to scene quicker than an ambulance can. If we have ambulances out of chute, we can get someone on scene to stabilize that patient and to make sure that when the ambulance gets there, they just can load and go. So that is part of the processes that we use.
Okay, now you mentioned 10 trucks, and you talked about I-20. It never crossed my mind, you know, from the river to Lexington, you're covering, and this is a huge county.
40 miles.
How many staff do you have in doing this?
Right now, of course, it takes for an ambulance under DHEC regulations for advanced life support, we have to have 2 personnel on that vehicle. I keep 10 trucks up at all times. We have 5 standby. And if we have staffing available on what we call PRN or as needed type personnel, we can stand up extra personnel, extra trucks. So if you go with 10 stations, that's 2 people per station, that's 20 plus my supervisors that are on call at all times. So that's 22 people that any time during the day, minimum, that we have going. I have about 125 personnel within the departments, counting emergency management, EMS, fire, and hazmat team.
Okay. Now, you've mentioned trucks, but there's obviously a lot of more equipment that goes into this. Tell us a little bit about the equipment requirements you guys have.
The equipment requirements that we have, of course, we carry each truck has their grab bags, go bags, and within those bags we have the drugs that are authorized for use by paramedics or advanced or basic level emergency response personnel. We also have 12 lead and monitors. We have oxygen, everything that you need. We are a mobile emergency emergency room for the hospital, so that we can do things en route to the hospital before we get to the hospital itself.
Okay. And I think you mentioned to me you've got some new equipment that's coming in that you're excited about.
Well, we are upgrading finally our vehicles. I have right now 6 new ambulances that will be coming. We're waiting for the chassis to get in for them to be built. It'll probably be staged over maybe the next probably 5 to 6 months. But when we get those in, we will have 6 brand new. I got 2 new ones last year. That's 8, and so the next oldest ones that are newer ones we've got, we'll have 10 really frontline vehicles coming up. We did last year. We had a grant that we picked up some new 12-lead monitors for the trucks. So we do stay on the cusp of technology, and as we can, we upgrade to make sure that we can offer the best services to the citizens.
Okay. You talked about your stations. This is a big county. Where are your stations located around the county?
Well, right now, we have looked at demographics. Of course, you said that this is a big county. I tried to keep a paramedic truck on each corner of the county. So we're talking about Monetta, Wagner, then in North Augusta, and the outreaches. Because we're 1,100 square miles, that's a lot of road miles out there, a lot of area that we have to cover. So we've geographically, like I say, tried to place them into where the clusters of our demographics are. Of course, we've got Station 5, which is right here in the Aiken. We keep one in North Augusta, and also out on Whiskey Road. These are our high call areas and down in the valley. So we have tried to look through that and place them as we can.
So when you get a call, your folks are dispatched out. Tell us why it's important that we as residents help identify our homes as best we can through signage or paintings on the curb.
Right. Well, according to regulation, you're supposed to have your house number placed upon your house, easily identifiable. When it's 3 o'clock in the morning, in the dead of night, it's kind of hard to know if you've got a white house with a green car parked outside. You may tell someone. Without that number, it is hard to locate where it is. So we do strongly emphasize that you well mark your house, your location, and if you do have to make an emergency call, to turn on your porch light and let us know, any distinguishing marks about your house. Of course, we have GPS and we can locate well, but anything you can do to help us identify, because you've got 1,100 square miles. There's a lot of dirt roads out there, and the mailbox may be up on the paved road. So you've got to have some type marker to let us know how to find you in an emergency.
You've talked about personnel, you've talked about equipment, but crucial to any and all of this, I would think, is training for your staff. Tell us a little bit about your training protocols.
Okay, we have monthly in-service training, so that technology is always upgrading. Medical technology is always upgrading. New techniques, new procedures, new drugs come on the market, and as they're approved, we have to be able to retrain and to keep up with the market as it is. Mm-hmm. So we do have our own training program. We call it in-service training, which happens over 3 days each month, because with our shifting, it takes 3 days to get everybody off. While they're training, they train off shift, not while they're on duty. Okay. So that and any special training that comes up at the state level or other type offerings. We do work closely with across the river at the university hospitals, and that we are continually sending people to those meetings, that type meetings.
Okay, Paul, let's shift over to you a second a little bit. Tell us a little bit about Code Red and why that's important for us, and what's the benefits of that Code Red program.
Let's talk about emergency management first. I wanted to mention one thing about emergency management that I think is really important. We look at all types of hazards. So our emergency operation plan is based on all hazards. But also, we have what we call the emergency management life cycle. It deals with mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. So we really try to cover our bases on all of those areas. So the Code Red system is an emergency notification system. And obviously that falls under our preparedness and response categories. So we have worked with an organization or with a company that has the product Code Red, and it's really got two components to it. One is a mass notification system, and the other is a mass weather warning system. So the mass emergency notification system would be a message that would be sent out from one of our dispatch centers. And I say one of our dispatch centers, so it would be the county has a dispatch center, and then the municipalities of Aiken and North Augusta have the same type of dispatch centers. But we're cross-trained to know how to utilize the system. So the mass notification system would be used for notifying residents of, say, a hazardous materials release. So whether they needed to shelter in place or to evacuate the area, we could pinpoint that neighborhood or that area that needs to receive the notification. And the way that the mass notification component works is it utilizes phone numbers that we currently have in our database. So the company that we utilize purchases or obtains these phone numbers, and it's just as good as the information that we've got.
Okay.
So we really encourage people to sign up for the weather component so that we also capture good data for the emergency notification component of it.
You sort of took my question, was going to be how do people get into the database?
Right. Well, let me talk a little bit about the weather component,
Okay.
because I didn't cover a lot of that. It's free to all residents of Aiken County. It's a warning system, and I need to stress the difference between a watch and a warning. You may see sometimes on television that there's a tornado watch. Well, that could be several hours in advance of
Sure.
weather getting here. So that's a heads up notice. But the weather component for Code Red is only for warnings. So it's for a tornado warning, severe thunderstorm warning, flash flood warning, or winter storm warning. And it's very important for you to utilize the system that's in place that we've got with Code Red. But again, in order to get there, your question was, how do you sign up for it? Well, the county has a website, our Aiken County government website, that you can go to and go under Services and Emergency Management, and we've got a link there for Code Red.
Okay.
Or you can actually call the helpline 211. We've partnered with them, and they know how to utilize the system, and they know how to sign up people.
Okay, we'll post that link as part of the show here today. I know you work closely with Aiken Public Safety, with North Augusta Public Safety. How do you prepare for something for a large-scale emergency?
Well, this is National Preparedness Month. You know, we do our best to get the word out to please prepare in advance to make sure that you've got, obviously, your home kits that have food and water and battery-operated radio and flashlight and those types of things. But when we're talking about the first responder organization and how we work together, a perfect example is on September the 14th, just a few days ago, we had a tabletop exercise at University of South Carolina Aiken campus. And the scenario was a large dorm fire. So what we did is we partnered with the university. I worked with agencies within the county. So we worked with EMS, was part of the planning team. Also had, obviously, our emergency management division. We also had state emergency management. We had some talks with the Red Cross in preparation of it. So we all came to the table to sit down and present a scenario to talk about what would happen if we had a large-scale dorm fire. So working with the city on that, obviously the city covers that area. But we also brought to the attention of administration the other components that they may not think about, having to bring in outside agencies such as GVW Fire Department to back up the city, to bring in possibly the sheriff's office to help with traffic control. What would we do with the students? If there's 400 students, for example, that are displaced, where do they go? That's where the Red Cross comes in to talk about sheltering them and reunification with their parents. So that's a very good example of what we do. Also, in the preparedness part of it. I talked about the Code Red system. Again, we have worked with the city to cross-train our dispatchers. So for example, if we have a large-scale hazardous materials release in the county somewhere, and the county dispatchers are very busy taking 911 calls, the city could actually do those notifications for us.
I got you. That's interesting. Weather radios are important to have. And I know we go through cycles where we get these storms and you want to take the radio and move it in the garage.
Right.
You think like, where's the best place to have those weather radios in our homes?
The best place to have a weather radio is where you can hear it. And I would say that you really could have more than one.
Okay.
You may have one in a den, for example, but you definitely need one in the bedroom. And you need to look at the type of weather radio that you're going to purchase. I recommend that you buy one that has SAME technology. That's specific area messaging coding. And the way that that works is specific to a county versus it going off, say, for Orangeburg County. So you don't get what I would call false alarms on it. So it's specific to, say, Aiken. You may want to put in some of the county codes that are west of us, because a lot of our weather comes from Columbia County or Richmond County. But you can certainly get a SAME weather radio, and it needs to be battery backed up.
Back up.
Because you definitely need to have that in case the power goes off in the middle of the night. You've got that battery to warn you. And we're fortunate that we have a NOAA weather transmitter right here in downtown Aiken. And that transmitter actually covers the majority of the county. However, there are other transmitters that are located around Aiken County, outside of Aiken County. There's one just south of Augusta that would cover the North Augusta, Beach Island area. There's also one up in the Columbia area that may cover Monetta a little bit better. So if there's ever any questions on that, there's certainly good information on the National Weather website, or you can call our office and we'll be glad to help you.
Now in your exercise, you mentioned some of the folks you partner with, and I'm assuming that's your typical partners you work with, but are there some of those, some partners you didn't mention that you work with typically?
Well, we work with a broad spectrum of partners. I have an emergency operations center list, and it seems to be growing all the time with all the different phone numbers that we have in it for contacts during emergencies. But we really partner with a lot of organizations. But, you know, we also have volunteers that we work with very closely. Again, I mentioned volunteers earlier, and we talk about VOAD, Voluntary Organizations Active in Disasters.
Okay.
And we have a VOAD in Aiken, and that consists of, again, Helpline 211. They were very instrumental during the Graniteville train derailment, helping us get information out. So they're one of our partners. We also have Salvation Army, Red Cross, and the Baptist that we work with. And we're trying to grow that organization, so if there's other voluntary organizations that would like to partner with us, I'd certainly like for them to call us. Okay. But we also have another group that we work very closely with, and that's our amateur radio operators who are volunteers. Ham radio operators or amateur radio operators, they're instrumental as a redundancy for communications for us. A good example of that is a few years back we had a lightning strike that took out the dispatch center in Aiken as far as being able to dispatch EMS calls. Okay. So what we did is we got our radio operators, one in each ambulance and then one in the dispatch center. The phone system still worked, so when the 911 calls came in, we actually dispatched and responded via amateur radio.
How about that? That's an excellent backup. Tell us where people can find information. Give us your website or the best website to go to sort of spread people out.
Well, there's a number of really good websites that you can find a lot of information. One obviously is our county website. Again, you can just Google or go to Aiken County and it'll come up, and then under services, there's emergency services or emergency management. But there's also a state website, scemd.org, okay. South Carolina Emergency Management Division, and they have a lot of good information there. Okay. A lot of outreach information. But there's also a federal website, ready.gov, that has a lot of good information in it as well.
Okay, good, good. It's great information. Stuart, we got a few minutes here at the end. Tell us a little bit about, from an administrative standpoint, how the city and county work together on emergency management.
Well, Glenn, we do work together with the county in this area, and I know both Tommy and Paul have sort of broached some of the subjects, but to reiterate, we do benefit a lot from the training that and exercises that the county emergency management puts on, as well as the training that we do ourselves. And I think also the important thing is we have a very good relationship with them. We share information, whether there's an event going on or not, there's that continual communication, which I think is very important. Also, any plans, and I know those were just briefly addressed, Aiken County Emergency Management is always periodically having to update plans at the county level. And one of the ways we work together is we contribute an input into the plans, I guess some of the unique features. I know, for example, I think in 2016, the Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan is due for renewal by the State Emergency Management Division, I guess FEMA as well. So that plan is currently being drafted, and they're getting input from us as well as the other jurisdictions here in the county. Another thing I think too that has helped us tangibly is we work together. We were able to benefit. Tommy put together a good proposal and ultimately an executed contract during the ice storm in February of 2014. Their debris cleanup firm, we were able to use the contract that the county had executed with Southern Disaster Recovery, and that expedited some cleanup in our city by using their contract. So again, even to that level of sharing, the procurement end was very beneficial to us.
Yeah, and it's, when I was in the role with recreation, I know our responsibility was housing and food a lot of times, and you have to practice these things and just be prepared for them and meet with staff. I know the cities, where's the city's EOC? We rarely have to enact it, I guess, but where is that?
That's right. We do have an emergency operations center, and it is located at Public Safety Headquarters, 251 Lawrence Street Northwest, just right up downtown next to the downtown post office is where the headquarters building is located. And that they do tabletop exercises there and everything, but that facility's got a generator on site and the necessary equipment to aid in the event of some disaster.
Okay. Got a couple of minutes left. Have we missed anything? Anything you'd like to highlight that we skipped over?
Let's let Paul talk a little bit about our county emergency operations center.
Sure.
You want to address that, Paul?
Yes, we now have a modern, state-of-the-art emergency operations center that's located in the new government center right off of the bypass. And there we also have emergency backup power. We have a large UPS system, battery-operated system, that will run all of our electronics until we get our generator going. That is primarily a coordination center. So we have room there for SRS representatives, to DHEC representatives, to public safety representatives, to our administration, so that we can all work together and look at what we need to respond to any type of emergency or disaster. But that facility also has a very good communication system. We have 800 megahertz radios that we can talk to the sheriff's office or highway patrol or to South Carolina DHEC, State Emergency Management. We have VHF, UHF radios in there that we can talk to the fire departments, for example, or to Aiken Public Safety, North Augusta. And we also have our amateur radio operators have radios in there for redundancy.
I haven't been in your new one yet. I was in your old one. I'm sure you've made quite an upgrade.
We have, the old one was at the sheriff's office. It was in a wing of the old jail, and my office was actually a jail cell. So,
That's probably not what you tell your kids, but
No,
yeah,
that's
that's
right.
right. That's right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate it. Appreciate you coming on and
We
sharing
appreciate the
some
opportunity, really do.
good, very good
Thanks for
information.
having us.
In the upcoming weeks, we'll have McDonald Law joining us. McDonald's chairman of the Board of Zoning Appeals. Also, we'll have Mayor Kavanaugh joining us on this show. Thanks for watching and have a great week.